We're going to go over a little bit. And Messilat Yesharim is always about going over it again and again, so it's never how do you say, a loss to go over it. So now we're going to talk about the things that go wrong because of the fact that we are social human beings. It's the way we are. And life, how do you say, the more you're connected to a community, to people, to the world, the more difficult and complex it gets. And Hashem created us to create a nation, right? You have to remember, before Avram Avinu, there were holy. Social life is very complex. And individuals, there was always great individuals before the Jewish people. The big chiddush of the Jewish people, right, is Mamlechet Kohanim V'God Kadosh, to create this holy nation. Kiddush Hashem of a community, of a tzibur. And that's what we're all about. So now we're going to start talking about, we're going to do a quick recap from last week of what happens now. You're growing up, and now you're actually involved in the community. You're involved in the community, and there's many aspects that come with it. Number one, hona'at dvarim, halbanat panim. We'll explain each one. Hona'at dvarim, and embarrassing somebody, taking advantage of somebody, hurting somebody, right? It's called hona'at dvarim vehalbanat panim. How does the translation call it? How does it say hona'at dvarim? Anybody have a translation there? Hona'at dvarim and halbanat panim.
Hona'at dvarim is verbal abuse.
Verbal abuse. Okay, that's a big one. Verbal abuse is a big one. And halbanat panim is embarrassing somebody.
Yeah.
Okay? So the Torah says that if somebody does something wrong to you, there's a mitzvah in the Torah to speak up. In Hebrew you say, daber elav, lo alav, the same letters. Talk to him, don't talk about him. You have a problem with somebody, talk it. But don't embarrass him. What's the word used again?
It's verbal abuse.
Don't verbally abuse somebody. We're doing a quick recap from last week. Provoke? Yeah, hurt somebody. Don't hurt somebody. But verbal abuse with your words, using words. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, now we're going to talk about, this is everything we're going to talk about now is all about the social connections. In other words, Messilat Yesharim is moving up. We talk first about yourself and your challenges and how you can overcome your difficulties in different fields. Now you're coming to deal with, you are a social human being. You are not only an individual that lives on the moon. You live within people, and when you come together in a society, you have relationships. Okay? So, number one, we said, is verbal abuse. Number two is embarrassing somebody. Number three, hachshalat iver beitzah, giving somebody the wrong advice. Number four, rechilut, which is gossip. Number five, hating, taking revenge. Number six, vows, chil Hashem, desecrating God's name, being an example of. So here's a list. There's a big list. Now the Ramchal is going to go through that list one by one, and hopefully we'll get as much as we can. So what is hona'at dvarim? The first one, verbal abuse, means don't say anything where somebody will cause somebody to be embarrassed, to be ashamed. Don't do things, don't say things that will cause somebody to feel embarrassed. Or don't do something, right? Don't say to somebody, oh, you're a Baal Tshuva. Remember what you did in the past? Why are you bringing up a person's negative past? There's a story in the Gemara that the rabbi died. Reish Lakish.
Right.
Because he was embarrassed. Someone said to him, oh, yeah. Oh, you want to know about knives? Go to him. He used to be a murderer. And he was so embarrassed, he died. So, it's very serious. If And here's another thing, right? Verbal abuse. Here's another form of verbal abuse. Do not come to someone who's sick, or somebody who's going through suffering, or lost a child, or whatever it is, and don't come say, Zechor na mina ki avad. Oh, let's hear, what did you do wrong? Right? Unbelievable. The lack of tact. Again, we're calling it lack of tact. We could call it cruelty, right? An abuse. But let's call it lack of tact that people have just because of ignorance and lack of sensitivity. People come to people sitting Shiva and they start telling you, let me tell you, I'm sure, let me tell you why this is happening to you.
No, but the person wasn't saying me personally. He was giving a shiur, and it was just right after my son was murdered.
And that's a lack.
He said, and I told him up afterwards, and I explained to him.
And so like you said, so you're saying the person doesn't realize, but a person has to realize. Like that's what we're talking about. Cleanliness are things you don't realize, or things that you think are okay, or things that you're not aware of. All these things you need to be aware of. Like we talked about there's a story in the Gemara. Some very wise rabbi, they asked him, what are the smartest thing? When did somebody catch you like where you made a mistake? And he said 3 times. One of the times he said was I was looking for how to get to a city, and I saw a child. I said, how do I get to the city? Where's the city? He said, to the left. How do I get there? To the right. And I look and I see there's a path. I said, why can't I go with this path? It takes me right to the entrance. He said, because thieves like you made it into a path. You look, you see a field. And now you see a path through. So use your head. Just because everybody walks there, everybody does it, right? That does not make it right. You have to ask yourself, wait, this is a private field. Somebody walked through here. One person wanted to make a shortcut. They started. The next person went, and now it became a path. And just because someone did something wrong doesn't make it right. Is it right or is it wrong? If it's wrong, you don't do it. People download music. People do all kinds of things that people do, and people think it's okay. And that's what we're talking about, cleanliness. We're talking about, again, what is cleanliness? You have a field. Zeirut, the first character of cautiousness, being aware, is let's take out the boulders from the field. Nekiyut is now let's take out the small stones that you could hardly see. It takes effort. All the things we're talking now are advanced stages of personal growth, but is what is expected of every person. This is not for people that are, wow. In other words, people think that, you talk Lashon Hara, wow, you're a tzaddik. You're going above and beyond what God expects from a Jew. Ramchal says no. Unfortunately, that's the situation. People think you're allowed to. It's accepted in society, but we have to ask ourselves, is it right or is it wrong? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question regarding avoiding to pay for something, kind of. I think like many people use ad blockers on the websites, like on YouTube, for example. Like, I use a web blocker on YouTube because like I'm annoyed of the advertisement.
Right.
But the way YouTube finances itself is through advertisement.
Right.
If I use a ad blocker, it makes me like kind of a thief because I'm not willing to pay with my attention for the advertisement.
What do you mean? But Google gives you an option to pay them and then not have the advertisements. So they want you. They already say that they're happy to not give you the advertisements if you pay them.
If I pay them, right.
So why not pay someone else? If it's legal, no problem. Again, these are questions.
Well,
these are legal. Again, it's a good question.
Yeah.
So it has to be researched. How are you doing it? If it's legal, there's no problem. There's laws, right? You go by the government laws. If the government says it's legal.
But it's also like many
legal.
times the advertisement is inappropriate.
Like I asked my rabbi once, am I allowed to, when you're driving on Waze, you let people know there's a policeman. So you let someone know.
Ah.
So I said, can I do that? Can I let the people know that there's a policeman? Right? Oh, he's always driving like crazy. And he said, yeah, the police wants people to know that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
The more people say, oh, here's a policeman, the happier the police is. People know they're around. I don't know. So I thought like maybe you shouldn't be allowed to like let people know, because then the police loses their ability to surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
But he said,
No, if
to catch
you know, they'll go according to the law.
for 5 minutes.
Right, for that second. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, but I'm saying the idea is that yes, to think in this way, nothing is taken for granted. Nothing is wait, is this allowed? Is this okay? Is this accepted? Is it halachically? Everything has to be asked a question, is this okay? Nothing is because everybody does it. That's what we're dealing with in Nekiyut. Nekiyut is the whole list of things that we're going to talk about here that everybody does. So we're talking now about verbal abuse or embarrassing somebody. You don't say to somebody who's suffering, oh, you deserve it. Right? It's because of your sins God did this to you. Who could say something like that? Right? You're not allowed to say it. And a person to himself should always think, the Gemara says, if something bad happens to you, yepashpesh b'ma'asav, something bad, you ask yourself, where can I fix? What have I done wrong? A person can do that to himself, but for a person to do that to someone else, that is abuse. That's verbal abuse. That's embarrassment. That's shaming somebody. All these things, and especially since we don't know why a person suffers. Maybe it's because of sins. Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's last reincarnation. Maybe it's because he's fixing the whole generation. Maybe it's for to save something in the future. Who knows? And you're going to play God and explain why it is. Oh, it's because of tzniut. Oh, it's because of Shabbos. It's because of this. Like you don't know anything. And there's a story of a guy that was actually running. The Gemara brings a story. A guy was running to the boat, and he like stabbed his foot, couldn't move, missed the boat. It was a big business ride he had to do. He was supposed to make a lot of money. Later on, he found out the boat drowned. So he thanked God thank you for that suffering. Because we don't see the big picture. We don't know. We don't understand everything. We have to have a little bit of humility to understand that we don't understand everything. It's very important. So again, a prophet could come and tell you this is why it's happening to you. Because God told him to tell them that this is the reason why it's happening. We're not prophets, and it's wrong, and we don't do that, okay? We're not allowed to. A beautiful story. Rabbi Elyon was walking down the street. He used to live up here. He was like one of the greatest rabbis, loved every Jew. And he's walking down the street, and there's a guy smoking on Shabbos. He sees the rabbi. He runs to the other side of the street. He screams to him, Rabbi Elyon. He says, Reb Yid, Jew, holy Jew, where are you going? Don't run away. Why are you running away from me? So he says, Rabbi, I'm embarrassed. It's Shabbos. I have a cigarette in my mouth.
The rabbi goes after him?
He saw the rabbi, ran to the other part of the street, and the rabbi screams to him, hey, holy Jew, where are you running away? And he says, Rabbi, it's Shabbos and I have a cigarette in my mouth. So he says, you don't understand. I'm very short. I could only see up to your heart. My eyes don't go high. I could only see up to your heart. Right? Incredible. Anyway, like we said, everybody wants to be, how do you say, mefarshei asonot, all these people that are commentaries of disasters. Commentaries of it's happening because of this, because of that, right? So that's number one thing. Don't embarrass people. Don't shame people. Don't come to someone and say, go to the store and go to that store and a person's looking to buy hay and you send them to a store where they're selling apples. Don't do that. Why do people do that? Because it's funny. It's a joke. There's you don't look for it, but there's videos on YouTube of endless amounts of even on the plane. I couldn't believe it. You're flying on the plane just for laughs, just to laugh, just to make fun of people getting hurt, people embarrassing people. This is a sport that people enjoy. How could you laugh at that? Right? And this is what it says. The rabbis taught us, Gadol onat dvarim onat mamon. It is greater to verbally abuse someone, to embarrass somebody, than it is to trick them from money. Because it says, and when it comes to about this idea of verbally abusing somebody is worse. And it seems like it's nothing. Our mouth talks easily. Words come out. We don't think. We just hurt people. And it says, right? It says, V'yaretem Elohecha. And the other, when it talks about money, it doesn't say V'yaretem Elohecha. It says V'yaretem, or it says, right? And also, money you can give back. You stole someone's money, you tricked him, okay, you felt bad, you go and you gave him back the money, done, you fixed it. But when you hurt somebody, you created a scar that is irreplaceable, irreparable. That's what it says. In Yiddish, there's a statement that says, a hit passes, a word stays. Right? Even though physically it hurts, but you hurt someone, you've made a dent in their soul. There's a famous story. There was a woman who was in a very abusive relationship, and she went to therapists, rabbis. They asked them, "What do I do?" The rabbi said, "Look, just try this for a little while. Every time the person hurts you, don't say a word. Go into your room and put a nail into a board. Fine. Every time he says something hurtful, she would go leave and come back 5 minutes later. After a month, the guy says to her, "Where you keep going? And I see you. You're so quiet. You're not attacking back. You're not. What's going on?" She said, "I went to my rabbi. He told me this advice that every time you say something hurtful, I go and I put a nail in a board. Can I see the board?" The whole board is like packed with nails. He says, "I feel so horrible. I feel terrible. I'm the worst person. How could I fix this?" The rabbi said, "Every good, positive comment you say, every encouragement, I'll take out a nail." So a month goes by. He says to her, "Can I see the board?" He brings the board out. Zero, no nails in the board. He says, "I did it." She says, "Yeah, but there's still all the holes in the board." So it's nice that you took out the nails, but the holes are still there. That's what we're talking about. The dent, the hurt that comes from words. Unfortunately, when I was a kid, I grew up with, we were all affected by Christian education. I was told that when someone hurts me or says a not nice word to me, I used to have to say, "Sticks and stones will break my bones, words will never hurt me." It's so not true, and it's such a negative thing, and words hurt. And according to the halacha, if a child if somebody hurts you physically or emotionally, says something hurtful, you're allowed to defend yourself. You're allowed to say back to them. You're allowed to defend yourself. You have to stand up for yourself. It's a higher level to be able to turn the other cheek, but that's not for definitely not for children, and definitely not for most people that are not, they end up holding a grudge and being angry and wanting to take revenge and all these other things that we're going to get to. And also when it comes to embarrassing someone. See, unfortunately, I'll tell you this chiddush that Hashem gave me. The pasuk in the Torah says like this: Lo tisna et achicha bilvavcha. Okay? Don't hate your brother in your heart. Then it says, what does it say? Hocheach tochiach et amitecha. Okay? That's part 2. Part 3.
What does that mean, the second?
Tell him, rebuke him, come to him and say what you did was really unacceptable. I'm very upset about it. Right? Don't hate it, don't hold it in. Tell him what you think, how you feel. Third part, velo tisa alav chet. Okay, what does that mean? Don't embarrass him in public. So I had a revolutionary thought. You have 3 parts to this pasuk. First part, don't hate someone in your heart. Middle part, tell them how you think. Third part, don't embarrass them in public. Basically, you're talking about, this is a boxing range. A boxing ring. On the left side, you have heavyweight champion who hates everybody and everything. Why? Because he thinks that he's a holy person. He never tells the person how he feels because I don't want to embarrass him in public. So he holds it in and he thinks he's a righteous person. Because I hold it in. I never tell the person how I think because I might embarrass him in public. So he holds it in, but he's over on a Isser D'Oraita, a prohibition from the Torah of do not hate in your heart. On the right side, heavyweight champion, you have the guy who thinks he's the holiest person in the world. Why? Because if you do anything that bothers me, it could be in a room with 1,000 people, I'll scream at you. You horrible, terrible person, how'd you do that to me? And I think I'm great because I'm not holding it in my heart. I just said it straight out and then it's out. I don't hate him anymore. I never hold it in. They're both over on prohibitions of the Torah of you're embarrassing in public and you're hating in your heart. So what do you do? So that's why when it comes to fixing your character, there isn't one size fits all. There's knowing who you are and how are you going to become balanced. So this guy who gets hurt and decides, I'm going to tell the person they hurt me. How long does it take him to tell the person that he's hurt? 2 days of preparation. 2 days. How am I going to say it? He writes it in paper. He thinks how he's going to say it. How can I say it in not a hurtful way that they'll hear me, they'll understand me? It takes him 2 days. This person, okay, so what's his job? Is to learn how to do it within 10 minutes. Every time to get faster. The sooner he could do it, the chances that he's going to do it in a hurtful way are so small because he's so sensitive and so concerned about confrontation that don't worry, you won't hurt the person. This person, what's his job? To get to the point where he could wait 2 days until he tells the person what he's heard about. At first, he has to go wash his face and then tell the person what he thinks. He actually took a minute to not scream at the person, embarrass him in front of everybody. Then, an hour, 2 hours, a day. The longer that this person could learn to not burst out and say it in an attacking way, the better. So each person has their work, and that's why it's in the middle, because this is the balance of finding the middle path of knowing not to hurt the person and not to hold it in, but to do it in a positive way. So that was a nice idea that came to me based on the Rambam's middle path idea. So let's keep going. So
where do we go to?
We are now at V'amar Rabbi Chizda Kol Yesharim Ninalu Chutz Misharei Hona'ah. So the Gemara says,
Which chapter?
this is chapter 11, and this is we're talking about embarrassing somebody in public, Albanat Panim, and then it says that in the Rav Chizda said all of the gates of heaven are closed besides the gates of we're hurting somebody. In other words, your prayers are not accepted. If you're a person that is verbally abusing somebody, if you're embarrassing somebody, you're hurting somebody with your words, you are locked out. Okay? Shlosha en apargod nilad mifnehem. Hona'ah. Okay? Afilu mitzvah. Even when it comes to a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. I want to help this person. It's a mitzvah. Yachol afilu panav mishtanot. Can I tell him he's wrong because it's about something that has to do with holiness? No. Talmud lomar lo tisa alav chet. No. Do not embarrass him. Do not do it in a way that will hurt him. Okay? Mikol ele, we learn how serious it is, and people are not aware of it. The news full of embarrassing, destroying. People actually can reach a place of committing suicide from the level of shaming that people can go through, and we see it all the time, right? And
TV shows with what's his name, Guy Penis.
like King, yeah, exactly.
His whole career is just gossip and shame.
Exactly, that's what people do. And King David did tshuva, and all day long people were going and embarrassing him in public and all kinds of things, right? Now we're moving on. Binyan etinat etzah. This is another hard one when it comes to advice. It says in the Torah, "Lifnei iver lo titen michshol." Before a blind person, don't put a stumbling block. Right? What does that mean? So first of all, it means the simple explanation: do not put a stumbling block before a blind person. But another example is a blind person means that I'm blind when it comes to this subject. I know nothing about finance. Right? So I'm coming to you and I'm asking you advice. Right? Al titen lo etzah she'eina hogenet. Don't give somebody advice that's not good for him. Right? Al tomar lo, go oh, go buy that donkey, and you go, right, and you buy it before him or whatever, or a field or something. Don't give advice that is wrong advice. If you are an expert in a certain field, that is a responsibility. You have a responsibility. All these things of nekiyut, it's cleanliness people don't know about. You have a responsibility to give good advice to people. It's a serious thing, right? And Shema Tomar, and you could say, no, I'm giving him good advice. I'm giving him advice, and I'm going and I am bypassing him, or I'm using it for my advantage, right? Nobody could know, and therefore, harei hadavar masul halev, because it's something that depends on the heart that only God knows. Therefore, it says, ve'aretam Elohecha, you should be afraid. God knows. In other words, you're right. We can't prove it because you're the only one that knows if the advice you gave him was because your intentions were really to help him, or to take advantage, or to hurt him, or to do something wrong, right? So you could say, no, I'm innocent, I'm good. Right? So you have to always, whether it has to do something that you gain or don't gain, or whatever the situation is, you have to always give advice to somebody the most truth, pure. You have to be, your intentions have to be pure. You have to just be thinking what is good for what is good for that person. And this is a big thing. Unfortunately, if the Ramchal is bringing this, it's a big problem. People give advice, and like we said, all the time, they give advice, and that's what the Torah says. How many people, he says, right? Kama nechshalim bnei adam. How many people are make mistakes when it comes to this subject? How many people? He says every day. V'yom yom b'yotam korim v'olchim letov v'chemat habez, because of the lust for money. People go, and that's what the Torah says straight out. Arur mashke iver baderech. In other words, not only are you going over a prohibition, you're also called cursed, arur. And this zoi chovat adam hayashar. This is the obligation of any honest, good person. You want to be an honest, Messilat Yesharim. I want to become yashar. I want to be a good person. You want to be? So be aware of this. Very, very aware. That when someone comes to ask you for advice, then give him advice. Shehaya hu notel le'atzmo mamash. What would I do in your situation? If I was you, I would do this. Mibli sheyashkif ba'ela tovat hamitiyatz. I'm only thinking what's for your good. What would I do? And what is the best thing for you? This is what I think is the best thing for you. Lo lishum tachlit acher. Not for any other, not for any advantage or some gain that you're going to get, whether it's short term or long term. Put yourself aside. When someone comes to ask you advice, by the way, it's an amazing thing about Yosef. I think this is what Yosef did. Yosef tells Paro, if I was you, hire someone. This is what he should do. This is how he should do it. He didn't say hire me. I'm thinking only what is good for you. This is what I would do. This is the situation. This is how to do it. He didn't say take me, hire me, because then he has an interest. You asked me advice. But it worked out. So by being honest, you don't lose, even though you may lose on the short term. You may lose, right? For example, here. But what do? He comes to me and says, I want to buy this property. Is it good property? And you know everything about it. You were planning to buy it. You were putting in a bid. Now, if he goes for the bid, he may win you. So what you could do is, right? You could say, give him bad advice. No, it's a terrible deal. You're not allowed to do that. You could say, listen, it's not for my good. If you're asking me if this is going to hurt me, I'm going to lose from it. Right? It's not for my gain. Like I'm losing from this, but I'm telling you the truth. Like my rabbi said here, once someone came and asked him about a worker. There was a worker working for him, and he said, how's this guy? Is he a good worker? So now he could have said he's a terrible worker, because otherwise he'll take him. So he said, I want to be honest with you. This is an amazing worker. Please don't take him from us, because we need him, and he's doing a great job. But don't lie and say, don't lie and say that you don't change the truth. Right? You could say, I have a personal interest. I'm sorry, this is a situation. Please don't take him as a worker. But it's easy for people to go and just make it very simple. Say he's a terrible worker, and that's it. It's gone, done. But that's lying. That's not true. But we're not talking about it, obviously. If it's an evil person, like what happened with King David. King David, his son Avshalom, rebelled against him, and Achitophel, right? He had two. King David had two of his top advisors. These guys were like brilliant, like nobody else. One was Achitophel, and the other one was Hushai Arki. Hushai was faithful to King David, and he went and pretended that he was a spy, and he gave bad advice to Avshalom. And the reason why Avshalom fell and was killed is because of the advice that Hushai Arki gave him. He was a double agent. Achitophel was told Avshalom, don't take Hushai's advice. If you take it, you're going to be killed. And he knew that this was the end. He went and hung himself, Achitophel. So obviously, if it's an evil person, it's a mitzvah to give him bad advice. But we're talking in general, and if the Ramchal is bringing this, it's a very serious thing that people make big mistakes on. That's number one. We're moving on. Rechilut v'lashon hara. Okay, what is the difference? Rechilut is, how does they translate it? Rechilut and lashon hara.
Slander.
So rechilut,
Tail-bearing, slander, and...
Oh, so what's the word?
Vision of slander.
Slander and what?
Rechilut is tail-bearing, and lashon hara...
What's the first one?
Sorry, tail-bearing is rechilut.
Tail bearing.
Right.
So rechilut is, okay, lashon hara is speaking bad. Rechilut is not something bad. It's just causing a fight between someone. Right? You come to someone and you say, oh, I heard about him. He told you that you bought a car. Right? Oh, what does he care about if I bought a car or not? Is any of his interest? He goes back to the other guy. He said about you, it's not your interest. What are you even asking? Oh, because they want action. Right? That's excitement. So, and then, obviously, lashon hara is bad, right? Even if it's true, it's bad. Why are you talking bad? There's a rule in lashon hara. There has to be a purpose for the words that you're putting out of your mouth. You want to talk bad about somebody? Why are you doing it? Because you're talking to a friend about how you're hurt. So there's a purpose. The purpose is, I'm hurt, I need to feel better. I don't care about what he did or didn't do. So the purpose is me. I have a need. I'm talking to you because I need to be listened to about, I'm hurt. The person did something that hurt me. So there's a purpose. So why are you speaking bad about, I'm speaking bad about the person. Why? Because I'm trying to think, how can I help this person? It's okay. You're allowed to talk bad about somebody when your goal is, how can we help them? So this person, he did this and this wrong, and you're talking to somebody. So the goal of the conversation is what there's a purpose for the bad that we're talking about. Right? Not like on the news and the radio all day long. It's just like for the sake of speaking. So, Amru, and it's refined. We're talking about, right? Someone says, how careful you have to be. Someone says, where can I find a light? Oh, go to their house. They're always cooking. It's not so bad, but that's bad. You're saying that you're either hurting them because you're saying that these people are just, eating all day long. So it could be that it will come out of it something not good. Or you're speaking about, somebody hates this person. And you start talking about him. Why are you talking about him? You know that person hates that person. You're not saying something bad even. But you're mentioning this person. I hate this guy. Or right away he's gonna start to go off on a tangent about how he hates this person. And that's why we said, Kol dibur, any speech, any speech that can bring harm or embarrassment to another person or loss, right? Whether he's there, whether he's not there, it's lashon hara. God hates that. It says, it's as if a person is, I don't believe in God. That's what it says. A person speaks lashon hara. It's as if he is denying the existence of the creator of the world. That's what it says. King David, Malshini Beseter Re'eu Oto Atzmit, right? I have nothing to do with it. And And this is it, because unfortunately, Lashon Hara did not have luck. Most people don't know about that. This is, like we said, this is nekiyut, this is cleanliness, this is a thing that people don't know, are not aware of. It's just a matter of educating ourselves to the idea of that this is unacceptable. Okay? And you're not allowed to speak not about individuals, not about communities, not about politicians. Okay? So, and I mentioned this story, I'll say it again. The Rav Tzvi Yehuda, in his yeshiva, the Rav Kook, when he started the Merkaz HaRav, he said, there's two things I want to change. One is there's not going to be a mashgiach who's going to be, sitting on your head, making sure, like in other words, we're building the yeshiva on trust and inner motivation. So he got rid of the mashgiach. And number two, he said, I want a person to learn b'makom shelibo chafetz. There's the learning schedule, but if it doesn't work for you, learn what works for you. And adam lamed Torah el makom shelibo chafetz. Learn in the place that the learning that gives you satisfaction, that gives you strength, that makes you want to learn more, that you have excitement, you have passion for. But he said one thing in the curriculum, in the schedule of learning, is not for discussion. From 1 to 1:15, we learned the halachas of Lashon Hara, of speech. A few days went by, and the sister of the Rav Kook, of Rav Tzvi Yehuda, she used to take care of him, and she came to the student and said, what happened? Last few days he's knocked out. Hardly eating. I don't know what's going on. They thought back, they realized, oh, yeah, he asked us to start learning every day 15 minutes, and nobody did it. So she went and asked him, is that the reason why you're so upset? And he said, yeah. It says in the Gemara that a person that has Yirat Shamayim, when he speaks, his words are listened to. Obviously, I said something and it's not being done. Obviously, I don't have Yirat Shamayim. I need to work on myself. I need to do tshuva. There's something that I need to work on. Because when a person speaks, his words should be how do you say, mitkabel, should be accepted, received by the other side. I said something and it was really important to me, and it was not accepted. Okay, so we're moving on. Here we go. Now we're coming to hate and revenge. This is very hard. Again, this is very important to know. The Ramchal is not saying to you, oh, by the way, working on these character issues are easy. What's the big deal? Just don't speak Lashon Hara. Just don't take revenge. Just don't hate anybody. Easy. No, the Ramchal says, listen, this is already, we're at the last stage of the first character building of becoming a tzaddik. This is hard, right? Look what he says. Kashe me'od limalet mimeno. Very hard to escape this challenge. Why? The Torah says, don't hate your brother in your heart, but we hate. Why is that? The answer is, there's a natural demand for justice that we have in us. Somebody did something to me, I got them back, now we're even. And that feels like a normal, natural thing that it has to be doing. It's a demand for justice. Someone hurt me, I have to hurt them back. I have to take revenge. We have to be even. Balanced. The world needs to be balanced. Right? It makes perfect sense. And religious people hate secular people hate religious people, the right hates the left, parents hate their children hate their parents. It's crazy, right? There's couples that hate each other. I don't want to scare you. They say, even though there's 80% divorce, there's 80% emotional divorce. People actually hate each other, but they don't want to go through the whole divorce. It's too much, bureaucracy, and you have to pay money, and
I think it's 80% in Israel.
That's what they say. That's what my rabbi said. 80% emotional divorce. 80% emotional divorce. 85% of people betraying in their relationships. 85%. In the religious community, it's probably a little less, but I hate to scare you all, but just be on guard. There's work you got to do. Okay? Now, well, it makes perfect sense. You hate the person you're with, so you want to go and you're not working on it. So you go and you have that part of your life somewhere else. It's unacceptable. It's like it's wrong, it's not allowed, but it's definitely understandable why it happens. If a person's miserable in his relationship. The solution is to work on your relationship. So why is it? A person feels and this revenge is like sweet, like sugar, like honey. I cannot be happy until I revenge the person. That is the normal, the natural state. And here we're talking about going above yourself. Right? And this is, okay? It's a very serious thing. You have to overcome your natural desire. You're not an animal. An animal can't control itself. Right? An animal, you put a cat in front. There was that famous story of they said we can train a cat to be like a person, and then that thing with the shla, he sent out a little rat or a little mice, and the cat went nuts. In other words, that's its nature. So what do you want from me? I have to take revenge. No. You could actually talk about how you feel. You could express how you feel. You could say you're upset. There's positive things you could do. But revenge, holding it in, waiting till that opportunity that now I'm going to get them back and now we're even. That's unacceptable. You're eating up yourself. You're doing something wrong. You have to overcome it, and it's hard. Ramchal said it's very hard. Okay? So we're not coming and saying, oh, cool, working on yourself is like a walk in the park. And also the book, Chavat Levavot, Duties of the Heart, the first book of working on development of your character, says if you're not willing to take the bitter pill of working on yourself, then you can't even start. You have to be willing, in other words, you have to be willing to take the bitter pill. It's difficult to not take revenge, to not hate. But you have to be, it doesn't mean that it has to be difficult, but you have to be willing to understand that I'm going to need to put up a fight. I'm going to need to be strong. I'm going to need to tap into my soul where I have all that strength that's somewhere deep down. It's there and I can do it. You need a lot of gvura, a lot of strength. That's what's coming up today during the war. We see all this incredible strength that's coming out. Velo yisna. Okay? So again, you have to overcome your nature. And let it pass. Okay? According to the judgment, you're right. You hit him back. But it says that if God is also always holding back, right? You're going in God's way, right? And if you hold back, then you will, this is a wonderful thing. And don't hate the person that is trying to get you angry. And now you have a chance. Now is your chance to take revenge. No. Forget it. Right? Take it out of your heart like it never happened. Look at the words. The words are incredible. And by the way, every night you're supposed to do this. Every night before you go to sleep, you say, I forgive everyone who hurt me. And they should not be punished because of me. And I'm cleaning the slate every night. And if you're not ready to clean the slate, talk to the person. Share with them what you feel. We're not saying you have to just not do nothing and just suffer. Express your thing. That's fine. Tell the person, like we said. But get rid of the hate from your heart. Lo yitor right? And whoever does this, chazak ve'amitz me'od. And if you do this, you are a brave, you are strong, you are an incredible person. Because, right, you are not making it too big. You're looking at the reality. You're calm. You're relaxed, right? It's an incredible thing, and this takes incredible strength. And that strength comes from our soul. We have this ability to tap into that place, as hard as it is. We have this incredible fountain of strength that's in us. And whoever can do it, v'hukal rak lemalachei hasharet. And I want to tell you something, says the Ramchal. This is easy only for an angel. I know that this is the hardest thing in the world that I'm telling you, but it's possible, and you can. And the fact that you know that you want to reach there, that's already an incredible thing. I want to reach the place that I am not revenging. I want to reach the place that I'm getting rid of the hate from my heart. I want to reach this. I would like to. And the Ramchal went on and on about how hard it is, how difficult it is, how what a brave, what an amazing person you are if you are doing it, and we understand only angels can easily reach this place. We're humans. It hurts. It's natural. The national reactions come, but we are expected to go above our nature. We talked about that when it came to zrizut, and now we're talking about this when it comes to nekiyut. These are big challenges. These are big challenges. Omnam zirat melechi. This is God. This is God's commandment. The king said, "Don't hate." So what if it's hard? Right? Unbelievable. He's not lying to us that it's easy. It's very hard, but it's possible. And it's the greatest joy in the world. If you're able to go to that place of not taking revenge, not hating, you will be the most happiest person that ever lived. Right? And again, you don't have to do it in one shot. Slowly, stage by stage, step by step. But have a goal, have a vision, have a dream. That's what we're talking about here. And don't fool yourself that this is easy. It's hard. It's hard work. And anything that comes easy is usually coming from the other side. Right? And everything good is usually hard and not easy. That's just the way it works. Okay? So, the inyan nekima v'netira yadua, again, right? Taking revenge. Right? Nekima is revenge. What is netira? Holding a grudge. Right? In other words, I'm going to wait for that moment and I'll remind you what you did to me. Right? Oh, you want to give me something, so I'll give it to you, but I'll do it without a smile. Or I won't have a relationship with you, or at least, okay, you know what, do whatever you want. I want to have a connection with you. It's not what we're talking about. And then the Torah came and told us, love, this is all under the mitzvah of love the neighbor as yourself. Bli shum afresh, without any difference. Bli chilukim, without any, distinctions. Love your neighbor as yourself, the way you love yourself with all of your
the mitzvahs numbered?
Yeah, 613 mitzvahs.
Are they numbered specifically?
Yeah. There's a book called, I don't know which number this is. There's a book called, there's the Sefer HaChinuch. No. There's a book, Sefer HaChinuch, 613 mitzvahs. It's called the Book of Education, Sefer HaChinuch. You can find it.
Right here.
Oh, have it right here?
The yellow box.
Right there.
Yeah,
the Book of Chinuch. Sefer HaChinuch has exactly the numbers. You can find out which number this is. But love the neighbor of yourself exactly as it says it. As yourself. You love yourself with your miscomings. You love yourself with your disadvantages. You love yourself with your mistakes you make. You love yourself with all your blemishes. So, right? No tricks. Kamocha mamash. Right? That's how you should love. That's how you should love your neighbor. So we have only 5 minutes left. So let's jump into just the next thing. The next thing is vows. People lie, make vows all the time. Right? Now, these are all things that we're talking about, are things that are in the Torah, straight out. There's no ways to misunderstand. Does it say Lashon Hara? Yes. Does it say don't make vows? Yes. Does it say don't lie? It says everything, but people do it. So these are all things that are very serious, and people don't think they're serious. They do it. They say it all the time. No problem, because people are not aware.
The Shavuot?
Why are they not aware? Because the Yetzer Hara, what's that?
The Shavuot?
Shavuot, yeah.
Yes.
Shavuot, because people are not aware, because that's just the way it is. Hashochad yaver anei chachamim v'seref de tzadikim. Everyone knows that making a vow is bad, but why do we do it? The reason is, right, whoever wants to do it, you have to be very careful. It's not just if I say, I swear that I'm going to do this and this. Even just saying I'm going to do it. Yes, I will do it, right? Hen. I say yes, or no, right? In other words, your words have to That's what, again, it's very short about the vows. Be aware of your words. Just because you said bli neder doesn't mean that you didn't just make a vow. You made a vow. You said, yes, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. You said it twice. You said it. You gave your word. Be
No,
responsible.
when you say blineder, that's exactly what we say.
I said it.
So that,
Yeah,
okay,
that's vow.
maybe something happened, I will be not able to do it.
I don't know. My rabbi says here it doesn't help to say bli neder. Here. Bli neder hu klapei ribono shel olam, aber b'nei Adam v'bura ani ba. You said, so that means between you and God, you said bli neder. But between your friend,
No, but
you said, I'm coming.
I know,
sometimes
but
you really want to
when you
come,
say,
and something
I'm
happens,
coming,
you
bli
miss the
neder.
bus,
Listen,
whatever, like,
I'm,
you're not able.
I'm just reading you the words of my rabbi, okay? You can disagree with me. I'm just reading my words of rabbi. Okay? If you said, yes, it doesn't help to add to say bli neder or bezrat Hashem. You have to do the words that come out of your mouth. En ze poter otcha ma'achrayut. It does not take you out. It's like saying, you say Shabbos, nish Shabbos geret, right? You're not allowed to speak about this on Shabbos, but
Yeah, and then you still.
but then you talk about it. No. So he says saying bli neder or with God's help does not exempt you from responsibility. They're waiting for you. You're matriach. You're how do you say? You're troubling other people. You said yes. You said no. Bli neder is between you and God, right? But between Adam lechavero, you said you're coming. If you said you're going to do something, do it. People all the time promise things and don't do it. I know this is hard stuff. The kiyut is hard stuff. Everything we're saying here is like you could like basically like turn over and do flips in the air, and like it's so hard to not hate, not take revenge, to not make vows, to stand up for your word. All these things, but they're obligations. And if you want to do what you're in this world to do, the Gaon of Vilna said, you're in this world for one reason, and that's to work on your character. And this is what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah, what if you set the expectation to the person, like, I will not be able to come, but I will try.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
But then you don't say, I will be there. Like,
Right.
yeah,
But I'm just saying, the idea of saying you're going to do something, I always thought that I could say bli neder and then I'm off the hook. Here he's saying it helps you between you and God, but it doesn't help you between you and him.
Most of the time.
Because there's been Adam Lashem, there's been Adam Lechavero. That's what he said. I'm just reading to you the words of my rabbi, okay? If you have a question, you can ask him. This is what he writes here. That when you promise something, do it. Stand behind your words. Even if it's hard, it's complicated. This is what it is.
Hands up promise.
Exactly. And the next thing is lying. I'll end with one story because we're talking about lying. There was a story I just read. I happened to open a book I bought on marriage, and it tells a story of this rabbi had a terrible marriage with his wife. Whatever he would ask, she would bring him the opposite.
Oh yeah.
He would ask for lentil soup, she'd bring him bean soup, right? So, and one day, the son comes. He says, "Bring me lentil soup," and the son brings lentil soup, and he says, "Wow, your mother's really advancing. She brought me what I asked for." He says, No, I told her for the opposite because I knew she would give you what you don't want, so I brought the opposite.
Right, smart, huh?
And he says, don't ever lie. Don't ever teach yourself to lie, right? And lies, he says, is very hard. There's different levels. There's people that lie because they want people to think they're smart. There's people that lie because they want to, they just, and he goes on and on the different types of lies. There's people that lied just to be. These are all things that have to do with social interactions. So anyway, we're not going to be able to go into the full lying because lying should, deserves some good retention. Really give it its. If we're going to talk about lying, so we have to do it in the right way. And it's a challenge. People like to expand. It's called embellish on things. There's people that just like automatically. They fought a little. They saw a lizard in their house. They came out. They just fought a dragon that was shooting fire. You know what I'm saying? Like things actually like there's a little bit of truth, but it gets expanded a little bit. And there's things you need to be very aware of. It's part of your interactions, social interactions. This is your connection in God's world. But like I said, even in just one of these things, if you can focus on, think about, it's a lifetime of work, and that's why the Ramchal says you need to be reviewing this book over and over and over again to remind yourself about hate and about revenge and about all these, and then financial and then relations between men and women, all these issues that are, wow, a lifetime of work. But that's why we're in this world. That's the purpose why we were created. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate for you guys.